Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias.
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Grammy Award winner Maya joins us.
How are you?
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat, Brad Gilmore.
Thank you, Keith, and welcome everyone to The Collection. My name is The Boat, Brad Gilmore. So excited that you joined us for another episode of the show. If this is your first time checking us out, welcome. Welcome to The Collection. This is literally, like they say in the intro, a collection of my favorite conversations with entertainers throughout the landscape, whether that's comedy, music, movies, television, film, sports, wherever. We have them here on The Collection, and today is no different. Really excited to get to our guest today, but I want to remind everyone, if you're checking this out and you haven't left us a rating or a review in your favorite podcast app, go ahead and do so. It really helps us over here at The Collection. This week, just as all weeks, we are entertaining you with 3 brand new interviews, and this one is one that I'm sure you're all going to love. Let's find out who we're talking to this week on The Collection. You might recognize Tia Carrere from many projects that she was involved with, especially in the early to late 90s and even in the mid 2000s. She got her big break by being on General Hospital after somebody saw her at a Waikiki grocery store and thought that she might have what it takes to be an actress. When moving to Los Angeles and doing the soap, she then got the biggest break of all, playing the character of Cassandra in Wayne's World. From there on, she went to do True Lies with James Cameron and Arnold Schwarzenegger, all the way to doing a television show that I love and I'm going to talk to her a lot about, which is Relic Hunter. And since those times, she has continued to be a working actress and continue to put out projects that are near and dear to her heart and entertain the audiences worldwide. And I'm so excited to talk to her today. We're talking about A Big Fat Family Christmas, which is a new Christmas movie coming out where? On Hallmark, of course. They're the kings and queens of Christmas around this time. And we're going to talk to her about that. We're going to talk about working with Sean Connery, that show Relic Hunter that I love so much. It was such a pleasure to talk to Tia Carrere, and she's also done stuff like Lilo and Stitch. I believe she was the only only actress who did the lead voice in a Disney movie while at the same time doing the cover of Playboy magazine. So without further ado, let's get to my interview with Tia Carrere. And she joins me now. Tia, how we doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I should have my earphones on. I'm just talking to you, yelling in the dining room of my house.
Well, it's a beautiful dining room. I love your tree. And we're here talking about A Big Fat Family Christmas, as it's going to be on Hallmark this Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific and Eastern Time. Talk to me about it, because everyone loves a Christmas movie. Everyone loves the Hallmark Christmas movies. What about this story drew you to it specifically, though?
Well, it's a different character. I have always played like the vixen, the bad girl, the, whatever, sexy girl. So to play the mom with a cutting, biting, acerbic wit, which is, closer to what I am. I've got a teenage daughter also. So it was kind of fun to get to play that disapproving mom that gets in the way, and really kind of pushing her daughter towards the boy. It was hilarious.
So as far as Christmas goes, I see you already have the tree in the background. Do you have Christmas traditions that you stick to year over year with the family?
always trying to just spend time with the family. But I do have a wooden puzzle behind me on the table that I realized, because I don't really have traditions per se, but I always pull out this wooden puzzle that I got at my daughter's preschool, and disassemble it and put it back together. And I have all the same commemorative, ornaments for the tree. So I have like this, that's a ceremony of unpacking Christmas and putting it up at, it's always the same. I'm always plain white lights, and the same ornaments and some picture ornaments from every year of my daughter. So, stuff like that.
We're talking about A Big Fat Family Christmas. Again, it's going to be on Hallmark this Friday. When you said that when you saw this character, it's the mom. It's something different than you've done before, and you kind of related to it because it's more of your actual person, closer to your real personality. What do you look for, like in a script or a story, when you get it? Do you look for something you can connect to, or do you look for, man, this would be fun to do?
It just depends, I mean, if it's a heavy drama or it's a comedy, there are different things that you look for in each script. But mostly it's the character that either I think I can do good job at or not. Do I believe myself saying those words? I've gotten some scripts that I thought, this would be great for somebody, but this doesn't feel right for me. And it's just that thing that you just go, well, can I stretch that far? Can I do a good job, make it believable? And this film, first of all, being an all Asian cast,
right,
was fantastic to be a part of, because to see diversity on Hallmark is huge. Not so many years ago, you wouldn't see somebody like me on there. You wouldn't see a family that looks like us on there. So I think it's fantastic that Hallmark is reflecting the people that go into their stores and buy their stuff. Like me, I've gone in and, bought trinkets and, gifts and greeting cards, of course. So it's nice that Hallmark is valuing us as a part of their family and sharing our family stories.
I think it's great. I mean, earlier this year, you were part of Easter Sunday, too. I mean, you're kind of cornering now the market on the holiday-themed project.
And the disapproving mom or aunt or whatever I am. When you're a woman of a certain age in Hollywood, I mean, look, I don't look like I look in the movie. But that's too bad this isn't going to be broadcast. But, it's kind of funny. It's a thing of you're between being like, the young love interest, but you're not quite, like the dowdy old mom or grandma. I always said rockin' mom, not soccer mom. And I still hold to that in my own life. But in film and television, you do kind of have to go, okay, I'm going to put my hair up in a bun and I'm going to be, a little disapproving and a little grumpy or whatever it is, because there are those tropes, there are those cliche characters that you sometimes have to dig into. And it's a not that this is a cliche, but I'm just saying, that image of like, where am I? I'm somewhere in between, but I'm going to emphasize more in that direction just for comic effect.
Well, sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, when you talk about the tropes and knowing, where I guess your role is in the story and how to help the story go forward. Sometimes you got to be the disapproving mom, even though you're the rockin' mom. We're the rockin' mom right now. If people could see Tia Carrere right now, I don't know what you're talking about. You haven't aged a day.
Thank you. Maybe I should take a picture of this and put it onto my Instagram to be like, okay, so I'm sort of like that here. Okay, wait, where are we? I don't want to be showing all my apps and stuff. Ooh.
Look at that. You look great. I mean, obviously, you look great. We just took a picture together. This is.
Take a picture. We're gonna post it.
Please
and then
do.
You have to tell me what the @ and the hashtag and all that stuff are.
We'll do it. But what's crazy is I was doing some research on you, and you got spotted in a grocery store in Waikiki grocery store. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is the truth. I know it sounds like a Lana Turner story, which is what people always said when I first moved out here. And I told them that. I'm like, no, it's the truth. It's not a concoction of some publicist. I was walking in the grocery store after a photo shoot, after a modeling shoot. Yes, I was wearing full makeup. I had a garland of flowers around my head, and I was wearing a bikini. So there was that.
You might have drawn the attention of a couple of people, just like one or two might have stopped and said, "Wait, hold on. Let me try to offer this woman something right now."
Fortunately, it was, a mother and father to the producer of the film. So there was nothing unsavory
Right.
and creepy going on with it, even though I happened to be walking around in that particular garb. But they said, "Oh, darling, you're gorgeous. My son's doing a movie here. You'd be perfect for the female lead." I'm looking around like, who, me? I had never done any acting before that. I was a singer. So I, sang in all the talent contests. I performed at the Waikiki Shell with my high school, talent show act. But it was the move. It was a meeting, a chance meeting in a grocery store that changed my life forever.
Yeah, it's incredible. I went to, by the way, Hawaii, an incredible place. I went there for my honeymoon this year for the first time.
Oh, wonderful. Which island?
To Kauai.
Oh, yeah. That's the cool place people are going now. But Oahu is where I'm from, Honolulu, the big city.
Yeah, the big city. We got to go there the next time. So you come from Hawaii to Los Angeles. You start doing big roles. I wanted to ask you about one thing, though, in particular. Obviously, you did movies like Wayne's World and True Lies. And in True Lies, you play this antiquities dealer, right? And I want to
basically, a salesperson to the terrorists in the movie.
but like you had like these ancient artifacts and stuff. And the reason I ask you this is because one of my favorite shows of all time, and I'm not lying, I could show you my Amazon Prime to prove it, is Relic Hunter.
Oh, that's awesome. I loved Relic Hunter, man. I loved it. It was great. And it's still on Amazon, I think, now.
Yeah, I watch it all the time. And you played Sydney Fox, who was she was a relic hunter. I mean, you look for these great antiquities, but you also taught at a university. And this is before
Tomb Raider.
It's before Tomb Raider. That's what I was about to bring up. This is 99. You kind of set the standard. There wasn't a woman out on television or movies at that time, and really even today, who was that intellectual badass that you got to play.
I love that character. And I think we could probably do it again today with maybe some younger people that I'm mentoring. I'm teaching them. I'm like the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the Relic Hunters. Maybe I could drop in like Harrison Ford. He still goes out there. I mean, he might dislocate his shoulder, but
he might crash a plane every now and then. But.
But I mean, I think it could be a cool thing today with another, group of people. I mean, you had National Treasure, you had the librarian, but Relic Hunter Sydney Fox was sexy. She was kick-ass. She was smart as hell, and got Nigel out of more than a few scrapes. I mean, he was the damsel in distress, which is what I loved about the part.
Yeah, it was great. It was really, you took the Indiana Jones kind of character, but flipped it around so that the femme fatale, or the damsel, as you said, was now the lead and the protagonist.
The guy was the damsel in distress often. So he always got himself into these funny scenarios where, I have to figure out, how did you get into this situation, Nigel? All right, turn around, twist this way, turn that knob that way, and we'll escape from this, tomb of death.
Now, obviously, I mean, you're an actress, so you memorize dialogue. It's what you do and deliver it convincingly. But there was so much history that you had to, an exposition and explaining what the significance of this and that and the other. Was that ever difficult to nail?
Oh, yeah, it was hard. I mean, there were more than a few speeches that I had to go, okay, there's dates, there's names, there's locations. I'm like, and then when I had to, figure out a puzzle on top of that, it was a lot of doing. So sort of like patting my head and rubbing my stomach at the same time. And I was like, wait, okay, sorry. But fortunately, I have a pretty good memory. I mean, I've got a great memory for getting dialogue in the moment. Ask me what I had for dinner, 2 nights ago. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, well, you did it convincingly. I think Sydney Fox, underrated character in TV history, and I would love,
thank you.
I would love for them to bring that show back. I
think it was great. It's still a great show for young women. I get told at like these, where I go sign autographs or whatever, girls saying, "Hey, I became an archaeologist because of you. I got into whatever." I forget all these different bizarre things where I thought, wow, that's interesting that this character in a comic way, lighthearted fun, inspired this young woman to go into this field that, you would never have thought of.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. I love that people actually are still going to the show and being inspired by it, because I always loved it. I mean, seriously, always one of my favorites. We're talking again about A Big Fat Family Christmas. It's going to be on Hallmark December the 2nd at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific time. So make sure you check it out this Friday. Set the DVRs. Just can you confirm an internet rumor for me, though? I
don't know.
Did you actually turn down a role in Baywatch? Was this offered to you?
Yes, it's true. It's true. It was right at the same time as Wayne's World, and I was dragging my feet, and I had only just gone in for Wayne's World, and I kept telling my agent, hold off, throw up roadblocks and stall this until we find out about Wayne's World, because I read that script. I'm like, there's nobody that can rock like that, kick ass like that, be funny like that. I couldn't think, there was, on one hand, I could count the girls that I saw in auditions back then. And nobody could, because I was in a rock band in junior high and high school. And, I had done martial arts for, in class and for lots of shows up until that point. So I just thought all those different things and the comedy, I'm going to get this. Oh, it will be mine. Oh, yes, it will be mine. But it was a lot of just really stalling, and I wasn't available for the swimming test, for the, whatever, to, the training sessions with the, whatever. So I feel bad, but, people do that all the time when they're negotiating deals.
Well, it worked out definitely in your favor. And Mike Myers.
Yeah, thank God. I could have lost both.
Oh my gosh. And in the breakdown for Cassandra, it specifically said an Asian woman, right? Mm-hmm. Did you ever figure out why that was the
18 to 25, something like that, or 18 to 23, speaks with a heavy Cantonese accent, but when she sings rock and roll, she sounds like Pat Benatar or something like that. Martial arts, tough girl, doesn't take any grief off of anybody, so it was very specific.
The part was written for you, and it was incredible.
I'm glad they wrote it that way. Otherwise, Cameron Diaz could have been cast in the part of Cassandra.
Yeah, right. You worked with Sean Connery, who's one of my all-time favorites.
Oh man, Sean Connery,
the best James Bond still today. I think they've all done great, but he's the best at it.
Yeah.
You said one time he gave you a piece of advice that you still stick to today, right?
Yeah, it's very simple, but he's like, when you walk into a room with your head held high and your shoulders thrown back, you look like you belong.
But it's true. It's like
That's
if you act
Sean
like
Connery
you're there.
Impression. I sound nothing like him, but it's my feeble attempt.
If I closed my eyes, I heard the late, great Sean Connery.
Oh, man, he was awesome. He was great. When he walked into the room, it was like a legend walked into the room. Harvey Keitel, Steve Buscemi, Phil Kaufman, for the director from All the Right Stuff. We're all talking and laughing around the table. The door opens. Sean walks in, and silence, like that reverie, that like revered, legend walks into the room, and everybody just stopped. And he said something funny and walked in, and then we were back to it. But it was quite something being in the presence of someone like that.
Do you have like the moment where you're acting with him or you're on the set with him and you're like, wow, I cannot screw this up. Like this is Sean Connery. I don't know how he's going to act if I mess these lines up.
No, he was a gas to work with. He was
really?
So funny and so friendly and kind. And he was always singing like these, I don't know, shanty songs or whatever. And I'm like, Sean, could you sing something from this century so that I would, know the lyrics? And but I'll never forget when I first walked up to him, I was like, oh, hello, Mr. Connery. I'm Tia Carrere, and I'm playing the part of Jingo. And he goes, of course you are. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm just gonna curl into a ball and sit in the corner here because of course I am. I'm an idiot. You're a big star. I'm a loser. I'm gonna sit over here. I'm sorry. That was the dumbest thing I ever said.
No, but that's the great response because that's what he says.
Of course you are.
That's what he says on the plane to Pussy Galore, right? Where she says, my name's Pussy Galore. He goes, oh, but of course you are, I think. Oh no, he says I must be dreaming. Never mind. I got that wrong.
I forget. I don't know.
Something like that. It's still great. It's still great to work with Sean. A Big Fat Family Christmas, again, is going to be on the Hallmark Channel December 2nd at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific time. Make sure you set your DVRs. If you can't see it Again, Christmas season. We're staying in town, obviously. Do we have any big plans?
Season. It's already Christmas season at my house.
Do we have any big plans? Like, are we going anywhere? Because I know your family lives all around, like in Guam and American Samoa and Phoenix.
All over the place.
Right?
Well, I might have some family coming in from Arizona. They've said as much, but they I don't know, they haven't completely fully committed. So we're gonna have to get takeout food because I'm not ready for them unless they tell me. This is a hint. You in Arizona, if you're showing up, tell me ahead of time, or you're gonna go hungry.
Well, why should people go out and watch A Big Fat Family Christmas? Give them the pitch. Why should we watch this movie on Hallmark as a family on Friday?
I think people should watch A Big Fat Family Christmas because it's so much fun and such good vibes and a laugh and a gas. And if you remember when you first fell in love and you had a disapproving or pushy parent, conversely, you are going to see yourself in this movie. It's so much fun.
Oh, wow. I can't wait to see it. And thank you, Tia, for joining me and talking a little bit. We could talk more. I'm going to be rooting for the Relic Hunter reboot. Let's get that in motion. Let's do funding. Let's start a petition. Let's figure out how we can do it because that would make all of my dreams come true. And it was great talking.
Hashtag Relic Hunter Redux.
Relic Hunter Redux. We're going to start it right now on the show. Tia Carrere, thank you just so much for taking the time today.
Thank you. Party on.
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias.
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Grammy Award winner Maya joins us.
How are you?
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat, Brad Gilmore.
Thank you, Keith, and welcome everyone to The Collection. My name is The Boat, Brad Gilmore. So excited that you joined us for another episode of the show. If this is your first time checking us out, welcome. Welcome to The Collection. This is literally, like they say in the intro, a collection of my favorite conversations with entertainers throughout the landscape, whether that's comedy, music, movies, television, film, sports, wherever. We have them here on The Collection, and today is no different. Really excited to get to our guest today, but I want to remind everyone, if you're checking this out and you haven't left us a
I'm doing good, Brad. It's nice. Thanks very much for the kind words. I'll take it all.
No, well, let me say this before we jump into the interview. But I've been listening probably to nothing but AC/DC over the last week, just getting in the mindset to do this interview with you. And I think, and you agree with me or not, the first verse, I mean, the whole song, but I think the first verse into the hook of Shook Me All Night Long is the greatest in rock and roll history. I don't think you can do it any better than that. Do you agree with me?
Well, it was the very first song I wrote, Brad. I was in the Bahamas in a tiny little bedroom shack thing, and Malcolm came down with a legal pad and a small cassette, and he said, "This is the basic of this song. Can you write lyrics?" And I went, "Well, I'll give it a try." This is true. It's in the book. You'll read it all. And I said, "I'll give it a try." And so he put the thing on and he left. And, of course, all I know about is basically cars. So that's why I wrote down when I was... She was a fast machine. She kept the motor clean. She was the best damn woman that I ever seen. And I just wrote and wrote and wrote until I was at the bottom of the page, and I didn't know how I did it. And that's honest. It's just I looked and I went, "Oh, it's finished." And it was one of them strange times in your life where somebody's helped you, but you can't figure it out. It's kind of spooky, isn't it?
Yeah, if you could bottle it and sell it, you'd be rich forevermore. But there's something about that divine spark of creativity, and yeah, you can't explain it. You're right.
I think it was not fear. That's not the right word. It's just, well, this is it. This is what you asked for, and you're here. And they want you to write some lyrics so you can sing them tomorrow when you go in, because the boys are putting down the backing track now. It was the very first song. And I've got to be careful because Angus keeps saying it was, nah, mate, it was Back in Black. And I go, no, it wasn't. Because it was that long ago. Everybody keeps forgetting. That's the trouble with as the years roll by. You've got to ask other people what really happened.
Well, if the first song you ever wrote for the band was "You Shook Me All Night Long," I mean, that should have told you that this was going to be a legendary run. To come up with the lyrics, "She had the sightless eyes telling me no lies, knocking me out with those American thighs."
Thighs. And I hadn't even seen an American woman yet, not in the flesh anywhere, but I'd seen them on the TV. They looked pretty good from where I was sitting.
You say, I got to get to America, man. They do it differently over there. Look, the book is called, again, The Lives of Brian, a memoir. The word lives is plural. Why was that the title? I mean, why did you think that was the appropriate title for the work that you put into this one?
Well, I think, first of all, the publishers couldn't quite believe the ups and downs and the different, like 1 minute being in Geordie, when we had 3 or 4 top 10 hits in England, but we were broke. We got fabulously ripped off. I mean, as most bands did in the 70s. And when the hits dried up and everything stopped, the money dried up, and I was back home, and I was looking in the classified ads in the back of the paper so I could get a job, because I'd be too embarrassed to go back to where I worked, because I'd been on television on Top of the Pops, and I just couldn't stand the embarrassment of, because people think that once you get on television and you do a pop show, you're a millionaire or something like that. But of course, it's absolute bull. And of course, it never happened. And so I had to get a job, and I went out and I was interviewed. Thankfully, the guy didn't know who I was. And it was putting glass, it was a windshield fitter. And I thought, well, this should be good. I'll be out on the highways. Nobody will be able to see me. I'll put this cap on, so nobody can see me. And I can go out in my own van I mean, it's as crazy as that. And then later on, I started another band and it got very popular again. So it was up and down. Like, and the whole book is meant to inspire people to say, hey, listen, just never give up. Honestly, you're better than you think you are. Everybody is. But, that's just me. I'm just full of spunk and vinegar, and I never stop, But that's where the lives came from, because it just changed from one thing to the next. I joined the Airborne because I couldn't afford a PA system to sing through. And the only way I could do it was if you joined the Territorial Airborne, they give you £200 bounty. And I bought a nice big thing. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that you really did have to jump out of airplanes with a parachute. And I didn't realize it was going to be that serious. So all these things, just make up quite a up and down life, before I got there. And I didn't want anybody to think that I just appeared out of the blue. Where did he come from? There is a life and a story to that point,
Well, yeah, I mean, and obviously, just going through, like you said, with the multiple bands you had, the jobs, going through AC/DC, yeah, you've lived many different lives. Did you find the process of putting the book together, was it difficult any times to revisit maybe some of those less than favorable memories, or did you just feel like this was cathartic? I got my whole life story out on the page.
Yes, it was. Yeah, absolutely bang on. It was some parts, the uncomfortable parts, which I thought might just hurt other people. I just left them out. I just said, you know what, it's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help the book. It's just, it's not good. But the other parts that were sad and poignant, of course, I put in, and so the book is very funny, but it's also very poignant, But that's a good point you made there, Brad. It's not easy, because I wrote it by hand. I wrote the whole book by hand, and I didn't want a ghostwriter because, that's not you. So it took a while, and putting it together, I had help from the editors, and lots of friends that are still my friends today, like George Beveridge, who's in the book. He was a bus driver all his life because he wanted to be, and he's still my friend. And I just got back from England, and we had a fantastic night out, dinner and a beer, and my other pals. It's wonderful to keep friends all your life, and it's wonderful to talk about them, and so it's been a good life. I'm 75 now, so it's about time to write something down.
It's about time to put it on paper. It's called The Lives of Brian, a memoir. Brian Johnson, the legend, the Hall of Famer. I appreciate you taking some time for us this morning and just getting to talk to you. You're definitely a rock and roll icon and a hero of mine. So it's an honor to talk to you. Maybe we can do it again sometime.
But son, well, all the best to you and yours, and all season's greetings for everyone. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you, Brian Johnson, everybody.
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias.
Good morning.
Music,
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Grammy Award winner Maya joins us.
How are you?
and more. And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat, Brad Gilmore.
And she joins me right now. We're talking about A Christmas Spark that is premiering at 8 p.m. on November 27th on Lifetime. The incomparable Jane Seymour joins me all the way from Dublin. Jane, how are we doing?
We're doing great. Thank you very much. I'm very, very happy to speak to you.
It's so great to speak to you. I mean, let's just dive right into A Christmas Spark. This is obviously the time of year where we get so many great holiday movies and television shows to watch. Tell the people about A Christmas Spark.
I particularly love this one. I did it because the script was way, superior in my estimation to a lot of these Christmas shows, and it had a lot of depth too. But basically, Molly is a woman whose husband passed away 2 years ago. She's stuck in her routine. She lives still in the house. She won't change anything. She's obsessed with Christmas. She always has her daughter come and her granddaughter, and they do all the same things, and everything is a tradition. And her daughter calls and basically says that her husband's got a new job and they've got to change things, and why doesn't she come to them instead? So she goes to them, and I think in Connecticut or somewhere, but back east, and really doesn't want to. And what happens is she ends up, she's an ex-drama school teacher, and she ends up being coerced into directing the town's little Christmas play. And while she's doing this, she keeps bumping into the town's most eligible bachelor, who she doesn't know at all, who's played by Joe Lando, who is a kind of a grumpy kind of guy, and certainly not an actor, certainly never wants to do any of this kind of thing. And she coerces him into doing this Christmas play, and through that they develop a relationship and find love. But meanwhile, her real trauma is that she loved her husband, and she spent many, many years dealing with him dying from an illness, which took a long time and was very, very difficult for her to deal with. And she just doesn't know how she can love two people at the same time. How do you let go of one to start another relationship, or can you hold both relationships in your heart? So it's all about whether she dares start again. And I think it's very rare for them to have a movie about people in their 60s, and in my case, of course, I'm 70, falling in love and having a real romantic, relationship.
Yeah, I think it's great. And, especially like you said, for a story to highlight people who can find love after love. I remember my grandmother, after her husband passed away, she ended up finding another boyfriend for a little while when she was in her mid-80s. So it's just great to let people know that it's never too late to fall in love, and to have the Christmas story involved with it always is fun. Now, you said that you picked this project because the script spoke to you. Is that normally how you go about choosing something? The material really has to mean something?
Yes, definitely. And this one really was good. I read it and it just jumped off the page, and it had humor, and it had pathos, and it had charm, and it had wit, and I just thought, if they get me a really good guy to play opposite, this thing will just be amazing. And then they were smart enough to go, well, wait a minute, chemistry, who are we looking for? What about Joe Lando? Because Jane and Joe always had chemistry, and anything we've done since, there's always been chemistry, and we're still very close friends. And Joe had read it because we're just friends, and he said, what are you doing? And I said, I've just been offered this thing, and I didn't, think for him to do it. And he read it, and he said, oh my God, he said, you're going to have so much fun doing this. This is really good, and I hope you get a good guy, because this is, you're going to have the best time. And then, of course, they hired him, and we did have the best time. It was wonderful.
It's absolutely incredible. A Christmas Spark on Lifetime, November 27th. We're talking to Jane Seymour right now. Jane, this is something obviously you don't know because we have never spoken before, but I have like this running top 15 films of all time list that I have, and you are in two of my top 15 favorite movies of all time. One of them being, of course, Live and Let Die with Sir Roger Moore, the late, great Sir Roger Moore, the other being Wedding Crashers. If I can ask you just about your time filming Live and Let Die for just a moment, because this, I could be wrong, but wasn't that your first major acting role in a motion picture?
in a motion picture, absolutely, yes. I'd been in a series before that in England called The Aeneid Line. I had quite a nice role in it, but this was my first major lead in a major picture, yeah.
And then, I mean, it's so crazy because, I mean, for you to be a part of a machine like the James Bond franchise, especially it was Roger Moore's first James Bond. Just can you tell me like what you remember about when that movie came out and kind of the filming of it and all that?
Well, it was such a big deal, and it could have gone to my head, but mercifully at the time I was dating and about to marry Michael Attenborough, Richard Attenborough's son, and he took me aside and gave me some great advice. He said, "The day you believe in your own publicity, you're dead." he brought me right, back on the ground. So, I never got carried away with any of this, Bond stuff or any of that. And in fact, afterwards, I decided I really needed to, learn more about acting. So I went into the theater and I did Shakespeare and all the classics, in repertory. And everyone thought I was crazy to go and do that. But I just felt that I wanted to be an actress. That's what I wanted, not to be particularly a Bond girl. But being a Bond girl, in retrospect, I think was actually a very fortunate and lovely thing. I'm very proud of it, and it, it's another role for me. But for some people, especially in England, as far as they're concerned, that is the only thing I've ever done. And sometimes it's a little frustrating when you have a very large body of work. But it's very interesting. Different generations know me for different movies. So it's either Bond or Dr. Quinn or Wedding Crashers, or any of the sci-fi ones like Battlestar Galactica. That's a random one, stuff like that. It's all different things. And yeah, I've been very, very fortunate.
Oh, of course. And again, we're going to add to the pantheon of incredible work that you've done with A Christmas Spark that goes down November the 27th on Lifetime. My final thing, Jane Seymour, that I want to ask, do you have any holiday traditions that we should be aware about? What does Jane Seymour do during the holidays?
Well, I used to have a home in England that was over 1,000 years old. And that's where we had our traditions. It was built in 950. It was the home of Prior Cantelo of Bath, who built Bath Abbey. So it dated all the way back with, renovations and extra parts of the castle put together, or it was manor house, really, in 1200, 1400, 1500, the most recent being 1912, which was an orangery. So we had a lot of traditions there. It was a little tiny village. People would come and sing carols, and we would, have the village would come from the church, which was on our property, into our big sort of ballroom, living room area, which had the most beautiful sound. And we'd have, mulled wine and all the English, I can't remember what they're called, mincemeat and all that kind of stuff. And we had major Christmases there with lots of people and lots of friends from America would come, and they'd sit in the kitchen, and I'd say, you do realize that you're sitting next to a wall that has been here, is 4 times older than your country. That was very hard for people to understand. Like, old, no. Old in America is aging. It's not old. And then even my house there, when it was built, was nothing compared to the Roman baths, which are just down the road, or the Druids and Stonehenge, which was in the other direction. So, that was tradition, was to be in the cold, and it always seemed to snow on Christmas Day. No other time, but Christmas morning you'd wake up and then the deer would be out there and the rabbits jumping around and the fox, a big red fox, and it was just magic. So having Christmas in America now, in California, the sun is shining, we turn the jacuzzi on, we take the champagne out and go sit in the jacuzzi and say, aren't we lucky that we live in California? And we don't have snow. And but we cook the same turkeys, and we have all the decorations from the trees from all those years. We have those now in California, and because of fire risk, I won't put a real tree in my house, just one of those pre-lit ones. I'm very fond of those. So we and then the kids and friends and family. I love the holidays, and it's for us, it's almost like an extension of Thanksgiving and friend giving. It's a time to actually stop and just look around and be grateful for what we have, and to give back and see what we can do to help others that are not so fortunate.
Oh, that's an incredible answer. I love the story there. And Jane Seymour, I am grateful for the opportunity to speak with you this morning at Christmas Spark again on November 27th on Lifetime. Jane, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how we doing?
I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias.
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The legendary frontman of AC/DC, Brian Johnson, joins us right now. Brian, how you doing?
Good morning, Brad. What looking to talk to me funny, lad.
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat, Brad Gilmore.
Thank you, Keith, and welcome everyone to The Collection. My name is The Boat, Brad Gilmore. So excited that you joined us for another episode of the show. If this is your first time checking us out, welcome. Welcome to The Collection. This is literally, like they say in the intro, a collection of my favorite conversations with entertainers throughout the landscape, whether that's comedy, music, movies, television, film, sports, wherever. We have them here on The Collection, and today is no different. Really excited to get to our guest today, but I want to remind everyone, if you're checking this out and you haven't left us a rating or a review in your favorite podcast app, go ahead and do so. It really helps us over here at The Collection. This week, just as all weeks, we are entertaining you with 3 brand new interviews, and this one is one that I'm sure you're all going to love. Let's find out who we're talking to this week on The Collection.
Hey, joins us now. We're talking about America's Funniest Home Videos. Alfonzo, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Look, we're going to talk about America's Funniest Home Videos. Got a new holiday themed episode debuting this Sunday at 7 Eastern and Pacific on ABC. Man, you've done such a great job on this show. And this show is one of those things that never, ever gets old. And no matter when it's on, you can sit, watch it, and enjoy it, man. So congrats on that. But tell us about this upcoming episode.
Well, I think Christmas is always a great time of year, and it's a time for families, a time for people to get together and do things together. And AFV is truly one of the number one shows for family entertainment, getting together, sitting down, laughing together, having a great time. And so, we've got a lot of great Christmas videos and things that are happening during Christmas. So I always like to say it's a lot of the same, but it's always something new. So great funny videos for everybody to watch, but it's a great time for people to get to sit down together and watch some funnies together.
So what can we expect? Because for me, I decorated my house recently and I was on a 20-foot ladder and it was a little cold outside and I was thinking I'm going to end up on America's Funniest Home Videos or something of that sort. I know I'm going to fall off this ladder. Thankfully, I didn't. But do we see like some decoration fails or what can we expect from the Christmas theme of it?
Yeah, it's decoration fails. It's, presents, people opening presents and not getting what they want and their reaction, even though it's something that they probably should want. It's definitely themed with, showing the videos that are around Christmas. I mean, I like to say, like I said it earlier, it's a lot of the same, but everything's new, but it's new videos of people doing hilarious things around Christmas time. And so people send it in and it's, from last year, from their Christmases of past. And they send it in and we get to show and have some laughs with them.
You know, and it's great that there's still a show out there that, like you said, the whole family can sit down and watch and enjoy and laugh. And, we forget about everything that's going on in our lives. America's Funniest Home Videos, AFV's always been that for me. But can I tell you something? My wife and I had a bonding moment over these last few months because we were watching Dancing with the Stars this season.
Right on.
And Dancing with the Stars this season was phenomenal. You and Tyra are so fun on it. I think that you're a great host on that show. Did you see Charlie winning? Did you know that this was going to happen because it seemed like she had it almost in the bag from the get?
What we always say is you just never know what people are doing at home, right? We don't know what people connect with. And some people love the dance by itself and they don't care how much experience someone has coming into the show, but they also, some people love a story, love a comeback story, love a story of someone who they didn't expect to be great and they turned out to be wonderful. Gabby and Wayne and Shangela, all three, in my opinion, had wonderful seasons and would have won on any other season than this season. This to me was the tightest I had ever seen on this show, with so many really solid, great performers and dancing. And they all had something different. None of them were the same. And so to me, it seemed very clear that any one of them could have won. I think Charlie's dancing was clearly the best, but Wayne's a showman, right? Shangela is a showman, right? Gabby was a fantastic dancer and with great personality, and so you just never knew. And to be honest with you, what I do know is that Charlie wasn't the top of the leaderboard all season long, and she didn't win by a lot.
Wow. Okay, yeah, because you're right. Wayne and, man, Shangela to me came out of nowhere. Like, I didn't know what to expect with Shangela. I was unfamiliar with him and the performance of everything. But, man, did they come through and kill it on the finale. That big freestyle dance was incredible, was it not?
They went all out. They're like, we're going to give it everything we've got. I think, listen, I thought it was a fantastic routine, right? It was amazing fun. It was the biggest routine we've ever had. The question always is, especially when you get to the end of the season, would this routine have been different week 1 than in week 10? And it definitely would have been different, but it was really kind of going back to what she had already done, what she had already been. So the problem for her there was some people might not have, seen that as, oh, this is the culmination of an entire season. So, but I would have said week 1, these were my top 4. These were the 4 that I thought were going to make the finals.
Wow.
And they did. The only person that I felt could have gotten there, who actually went home earlier, was Jordan Sparks. I thought there was a chance that she could get there. But here's the thing that most people don't recognize, and that is, if you have a busy schedule, right, in your career during the show, there's a really good chance that you're not going to make it to the end, because you can't put in the hours that someone else is putting in if they're not that busy, right? Charlie didn't have anything else going on. Gabby didn't have anything else going on. Wayne and Shangela had a lot going on. Jordan Sparks had a lot going on. And so they weren't able to really give 100% of everything in terms of learning.
It makes complete sense, as far as how much dedication it takes to go to that show from the first week, make it all the way to the finale. Those dances, I'm sure, are brutal. You don't injure yourself, but I'm sure you're always dancing hurt, right? You can't be 100% when you come in game night, right?
Oh, you're hurt from, I hurt myself week 2 on my season when I performed. But it all depends on the age, right? I mean, even Charlie was hurt by the end, and she's 18 years old. So, how was 50-year-old Wayne feeling, right? And it is a marathon, and it is a game for the youth and less a game for some of us old timers.
Again, we're talking to Alfonso about America's Funniest Home Videos. The Ho-Ho holiday-themed episode premieres this Sunday on ABC, December the 4th at 7 Eastern and Pacific. One more thing on Dancing with the Stars. Lynn Goodman is leaving the show. He's been kind of the North Star for the judges since the show's inception. He judged you on your season where you went off to win it. Obviously, he's still doing it today and now walking away. What is that going to mean for the show? Is it you going to feel like something's missing there?
I think we will absolutely feel like something is missing. You can't replace Len Goodman, right? He is the one person on that panel who is, let's say, overly qualified to judge everyone. This is what he does. This is what his career has been before television. He is the anchor, shall we say, of that judging panel. So I think, there's no word as to what they're going to do, but I believe the right decision is to not put anybody new on there. Let's just knock it down to 3 people and let the 3 fantastic judges that we still have, let them, do their thing. I think it's definitely going to be a situation for Derek where he's going to have to not take Len's place, but somewhat be the stickler for technique and for content. But so it'll be a little bit different, but you can't replace Len. He's a living legend, and the show, myself, and everybody else will surely miss him.
All right, last question for you, Alfonso. We're talking about, again, America's Funniest Home Videos. The Ho-Ho holiday-themed episode premieres this Sunday, December the 4th on ABC at 7 Eastern and Pacific. You do such a great job as a host. Really, you're phenomenal, both on Dancing with the Stars and America's Funniest Home Videos. On AFV, you're doing it solo. On Dancing with the Stars, you work with the great Tyra Banks. Do you have, just more of a technical question, do you have more of a preference? Do you like having the solo job, or do you like kind of sharing the responsibility?
Look, I would be lying if I didn't say that I enjoy, the solo hosting, all the responsibility, all of it. It's because, I actually like more work, right? If it's easier, if it's less to do, I want it less, right? So, I on a technical side, I prefer doing it my own, but Dancing with the Stars isn't a show that really works, in my opinion, by yourself. So you have to have a co-host, and Tyra and I get along, insanely great. So they're both fun, and they're both the right way to do each show. They're designed to be done exactly the way that they are.
Oh, incredible, man. Well, hey, congratulations on all your success. Everyone check out America's Funniest Home Videos this Sunday on December 4th at 7 Eastern and Pacific on ABC. Alfonso, season's greetings to you and yours, and thanks for taking the time.
Thank you so much, and have a happy holiday.